July 2026. For weeks, Ederson had been standing at the edge of the biggest move of his life. Manchester United had agreed the structure of a deal with Atalanta worth almost £38 million. Personal terms were settled. A contract until 2030 with the option of another year was waiting. After years of moving through Brazilian football, surviving a relegation fight in Italy and becoming a European champion with Atalanta, the midfielder was finally close to Old Trafford. Only one formality remained: the medical. Ederson had just represented Brazil at the World Cup. He had played more than 3,000 minutes for Atalanta after returning from knee surgery. He felt capable of competing. Atalanta considered him fit. From the outside, there appeared to be nothing powerful enough to stop the transfer. But football clubs do not only examine the player standing in front of them. They examine the injuries that may be waiting inside him. United's doctors studied Ederson's right knee. More tests were ordered. Outside specialists became involved. Then, the agreement began to collapse. No announcement, no photograph, no red shirt. A £38 million dream had been reduced to a question hidden inside a medical scan. Had Manchester United discovered a disaster before it happened? Or allowed fear to destroy the perfect signing?
The transfer made sense before it became complicated.
Manchester United were rebuilding a midfield that had lost Casemiro. They needed physical power, defensive intelligence, and someone capable of controlling the spaces that appear when a team loses possession. They did not need another player comfortable only when the game was slow. They needed someone who could press, win duels, track runners, and still move the ball forward. Ederson seemed built for that job. At Atalanta, his influence was difficult to capture with one statistic. He could protect the defense, press high, carry possession, and recover quickly when attacks broke down. His football was based on movement, contact, and responsibility. He did not always make the final pass. He did not always score the goal. But he helped create the conditions in which Atalanta could overwhelm opponents. The clearest evidence came in Dublin in May 2024. Bayer Leverkusen entered the Europa League final unbeaten in 51 matches. They had escaped defeat throughout the season, overwhelming opponents with control and late pressure. Atalanta refused to let them breathe. Ederson and Toyin Koopmeiners hunted Leverkusen's midfield, disrupted their build-up, and helped turn one of Europe's most confident teams into strangers. Atalanta won 3-0, ending Leverkusen's unbeaten run and claiming the first European trophy in the Italian club's history. That was the player Manchester United believed they were buying. Not a prospect who might become ready several years later, but a Brazilian international approaching his prime. A midfielder developed inside one of Europe's most physically demanding systems. Someone who appeared prepared for the chaos of Old Trafford. Ederson's path had never been straight. Born in Campo Grande, Brazil, in 1999, he began his professional journey with Desportivo Brasil, before moving through Cruzeiro, Corinthians, and Fortaleza. There was no protected road from an elite academy directly into European football. His career developed through movement, uncertainty, and the constant need to prove that he belonged at the next level. Salernitana changed everything. Ederson arrived in Italy in January 2022, with the club trapped in a desperate relegation battle. Salernitana appeared destined to fall, but the team produced an extraordinary recovery during the final months of the season. Ederson adapted quickly. He played 15 league matches, scored twice, and helped Salernitana complete one of Serie A's most unexpected escapes. His performances were enough to convince Atalanta to sign him permanently that summer. Bergamo was where potential became identity. Under Gianpiero Gasperini, hesitation could expose an entire system. Midfielders had to press, track, cover, and attack with relentless discipline. They could not disappear when possession was lost. Ederson became stronger, tactically sharper, and increasingly trusted. By October 2024, he had reached 100 appearances for Atalanta. He was no longer the Brazilian newcomer attempting to survive in Italy. He had become one of the central figures in the most successful period of Atalanta's modern history. Manchester United, therefore, represented more than a famous badge. It represented a rival. At 27, Ederson was entering the period when a footballer's next move could define the remainder of his career. Old Trafford was supposed to be the reward for every uncertain stage that had come before it. Then, his own body became the obstacle. On June 2, 2026, reports in England said Manchester United had reached an agreement with Atalanta. The guaranteed payment was expected to be approximately £34 million to £35 million, with bonuses taking the total value close to £38 million. Ederson had agreed personal terms on a 4-year contract with an option for another season. The plan was to complete the medical after his international commitments and finalize the transfer. At that moment, Ederson was not even expected to play at the World Cup. Brazil coach Carlo Ancelotti had not selected him in the final squad. Then, on June 7th, defender Wesley suffered a thigh injury and was forced to withdraw. Ederson received the late call every footballer dreams about. He traveled to the United States to join Brazil. One dream had interrupted another. Because Ederson was now at the World Cup, Manchester United could not complete the entire medical process in England as originally planned. Part of the examination was arranged in the United States. According to later reporting, those initial checks indicated a possible problem, but the transfer was not cancelled immediately. United waited. Background checks continued. A complete examination was scheduled for after Brazil's tournament ended. Third-party specialists were brought into the process because the club wanted more information before committing almost £38 million to the transfer. For supporters, there was mostly silence. That silence created certainty. People discussed where Ederson would play, how he would transform the midfield, and when Manchester United would release the announcement video. The agreement had been reported so widely that the signing began to feel inevitable. But an agreed transfer is not a completed transfer. Until the medical has been approved and the final documents have been signed, a footballer belongs to the space between two futures. The exact contents of Ederson's medical records are private. Manchester United have not publicly released the scans, the diagnosis, or the conclusions reached by the specialists involved. Any outsider claiming to know everything about his condition is guessing. What has been reported is that United became concerned about Ederson's right knee. In August 2025, he underwent arthroscopic surgery on his right meniscus after suffering inflammation. He missed approximately 1 month. For a midfielder whose game depends on acceleration, repeated changes of direction, tackling, and physical contact, that history could not be ignored. Yet, what happened after the operation made Manchester United's decision difficult to understand from the outside. Ederson returned and played 3,169 minutes across all competitions for Atalanta. He made 30 Serie A appearances and 9 in the Champions League. He became one of Atalanta's most used outfield players during the season. Then he joined Brazil at the World Cup. To Atalanta, those minutes were evidence. To Manchester United, they were not enough. A transfer medical does not simply ask whether a player can run today. It attempts to estimate whether his body can survive next season, the season after that, and the final year of a long contract. Doctors examine surgical history, joint stability, muscle balance, movement patterns, and signs of future deterioration. A player can feel completely healthy, train normally, and compete every week, while a buying club still considers the long-term risk unacceptable. Manchester United were not purchasing Ederson for one match.
they were preparing to guarantee a significant transfer fee, several years of wages, and an important position in their squad. The question was not simply whether Ederson could play. The question was whether his knee could repeatedly endure the speed, physical contact, and relentless schedule of English football, without eventually becoming an expensive limitation. After the complete medical examination, United decided not to proceed under the original price and payment structure. The doctors had not declared that Ederson could never play elite football again. The medical had changed how much risk Manchester United were willing to buy.
Football describes these moments too simply. A player passes his medical or fails it. He is healthy or unhealthy. The transfer lives or dies. Reality is rarely that clean. A medical examination can reveal an issue without making a transfer impossible. The buying club can reduce the guaranteed fee, increase appearance-related payments, or request greater protection within the contract. The same footballer may be considered acceptable at one price and too dangerous at another. That distinction is central to Ederson's case. Manchester United were no longer prepared to complete the previously agreed £38 million structure. However, reports said the club had not completely ruled out returning later in the transfer window at a renegotiated price. The medical may not have destroyed United's interest in Ederson. It destroyed their confidence in the original gamble. Atalanta's reaction added another layer. The club's sporting director, Cristiano Giuntoli, said Atalanta had been stunned by the breakdown. He insisted Ederson was happy to remain and confirmed that the Italian club was working on a contract renewal. That was not the response of a club publicly treating its player as physically broken. Atalanta knew the operation, the rehabilitation, and the daily condition of Ederson's knee. Their doctors had monitored him. Their coaches had watched him train. Their team had selected him for more than 3,000 minutes. United's doctors, however, were examining a new investment under different standards and with different consequences. Neither side had to be lying. Atalanta could genuinely believe Ederson remained fully capable of playing at the highest level. Manchester United could genuinely believe that the same knee carried too much long-term danger for a guaranteed £38 million commitment. The disagreement was not necessarily about the player Ederson was. It was about the player his knee might allow him to become.
Transfer stories are normally told from the perspective of football clubs. Who won the negotiation? Who overpaid? Which sporting director moved fastest? Which club found the better alternative? But there was a person trapped in the center of this transfer. Ederson reportedly wanted the move. He had agreed the contract. He and his family could begin imagining a different country, a different stadium, and a different life. Once personal terms have been settled, the transfer stops feeling like gossip to the player. It begins to feel real. Then strangers examine his body and decide that the future he imagined may be too dangerous to finance. That judgment can follow a footballer beyond one failed transfer. Every future buyer may request the same medical records. Every absence may be connected to the knee. Every poor performance may be interpreted as evidence of physical decline. A private medical concern can become a public label, even while the player continues competing. Ederson had returned from surgery, completed a heavy schedule, and reached the World Cup. But performance could not guarantee Manchester United's approval. A footballer spends his career proving what his body can do. A medical can change his future by predicting what that body may one day be unable to do. That is what made this transfer collapse cruel. Ederson had not rejected Manchester United. He had not demanded impossible wages. Atalanta had accepted the structure of the deal. The uncertainty was inside him. From Manchester United, walking away may have been the responsible decision. The club had spent years being criticized for expensive recruitment, heavy contracts, and short-term thinking.
Completing a transfer merely because negotiations had advanced too far would have repeated the same mistake. If medical specialists believed Ederson's knee presented a serious, long-term concern, ignoring that warning would have been reckless. A medical department must be allowed to say no. But caution also carries a cost. Ederson appeared to fit a genuine tactical need. He had demonstrated durability after surgery. He understood intense pressing football and possessed qualities that Manchester United had been missing. If he remains healthy and succeeds at Atalanta, or eventually joins another major club, United's decision may be remembered not as discipline, but as fear. That is the uncomfortable reality of medical decisions. They are judged by events that have not happened yet. If Ederson's knee deteriorates, United will appear intelligent. If it never becomes a serious problem, the club may appear overly cautious. But the outcome alone cannot prove that the original decision was foolish or brilliant. It will only reveal which possible future became real.
By the middle of July 2026, the original agreement had collapsed. Manchester United moved toward other midfield targets. Atalanta opened discussions over a new contract. Éderson faced the difficult task of returning to Bergamo after preparing mentally for Old Trafford. Yet the story may not be completely over. United had not ruled out returning if the transfer market changed and the price could be renegotiated. That possibility exposes the true meaning of the medical. At £38 million, the risk was considered too high. At another fee, with another payment structure, the same knee and the same footballer might become acceptable. For now, the original deal is dead. Not because Ederson rejected Manchester United, not because Atalanta refused to sell, not because he lacked the ability to play at Old Trafford. It died because United looked beyond the footballer standing before them and imagined the footballer his knee might allow him to become 4 years later. Perhaps Manchester United protected themselves from a disaster before it happened. Perhaps one medical scan cost them the perfect midfielder. So what do you think? Did Manchester United show discipline before committing almost £38 million? Or did fear destroy a transfer that should have been completed? Subscribe to Football Power Files for more stories about the transfers, decisions, and hidden moments that change football careers forever.